there's a strange question most people never ask themselves. Why did you want that thing? Not what it cost. Not whether it was useful. Why did you want it? The car, the phone, the watch, the bigger house, the expensive wedding, the promotion you sacrificed your weekends for. If we're honest, some of the biggest financial decisions of our lives aren't made when we're alone. They're made when someone else is watching, or when we imagine they are. And that's where this story begins. Because somewhere tonight, a man is driving home in a luxury SUV he can barely afford. The leather seats smell expensive. The dashboard glows like a cockpit. From the outside, it looks like success. But inside, he's calculating next month's payments. Again, he isn't enjoying the car anymore. The excitement disappeared months ago. The debt didn't. And here's the uncomfortable part. He's not alone. Millions of people are doing the same thing. Working longer, spending more, worrying more. Not because they need more, but because they're trapped in a game they never consciously agreed to play. A game so powerful it can quietly shape your career, your relationships, your finances, and even your identity. A game called status. And every year, whether we realize it or not, we pay a price for it. An invisible price. An ego tax. To understand why this happens, we need to travel back not 100 years, not 1,000, but tens of thousands of years. Imagine a small tribe gathered around a fire. No luxury brands, no stock market, no social media, no influencers. And yet, status already exists. The skilled hunter is admired. The wise elder is respected. The trusted leader has influence. Status wasn't vanity. It was survival. The people with higher standing often had better access to resources, stronger alliances, and greater opportunities. Your ancestors didn't seek status because they were shallow. They sought it because their brains evolved to associate social standing with safety. That wiring never disappeared. It lives inside you, inside me, inside every human being. The problem is that the modern world discovered something incredibly profitable. That ancient instinct can be monetized. For most of human history, status had to be earned. You gained respect through actions, through competence, through contribution. Then the industrial age changed everything. Factories began producing goods at enormous scale. Advertising emerged. And marketers discovered something revolutionary. People don't simply buy products. They buy stories about themselves. A watch no longer told time. It told the world who you were. A car no longer moved you from one place to another. It became a symbol, a signal, a statement. Suddenly, status could be purchased, not earned over years. Purchased in an afternoon. And once businesses realized they could sell identity instead of utility, an entirely new economy emerged. An economy built on aspiration. An economy built on comparison. An economy built on a simple message. You are close, but not quite enough. However, this wasn't the real turning point. The real turning point came later. Much later. And it fit inside your pocket. Let's do a thought experiment. Imagine every successful person you've ever seen gathered in a single stadium. The richest, the smartest, the most attractive, the most talented, the most successful. Now imagine spending hours every day looking at them. That's essentially what social media created. For the first time in history, people gained unlimited access to the highlights of millions of lives. Not reality. Highlights, carefully selected moments, filtered victories, curated success. And our brains weren't designed for this. Your ancestors compared themselves to perhaps 50 or 100 people. You compare yourself to millions without even realizing it. A stranger buys a luxury car. You suddenly feel behind. Someone announces a promotion. You begin questioning your own career. A friend posts vacation photos. Your life suddenly feels smaller. Have you ever noticed how quickly gratitude can disappear after scrolling online? One moment you're satisfied. 5 minutes later, you're wondering whether you're falling behind. That's not an accident. Comparison captures attention. Attention drives engagement. Engagement generates profit. In many ways, the modern economy isn't selling products. It's selling dissatisfaction. Because dissatisfied people buy things, satisfied people don't. Let's return to that man driving home in the luxury SUV. We'll call him David. At 24, David gets his first high-paying job. He works hard. He deserves it. Then comes his first major purchase. A nicer car. Nothing unreasonable. The compliments feel good. Really good. Co-workers notice. Friends notice. People treat him differently. Without realizing it, David learns a lesson. Status feels rewarding. A few years later, the car isn't special anymore. So he upgrades. Then comes the luxury apartment, the expensive watch, the designer clothes, the vacations that seem incomplete unless they're photographed. And for a while, it works. David looks successful. But something strange keeps happening. The satisfaction fades. Every time. Because what once felt extraordinary eventually becomes normal. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. Most people simply experience it as, why doesn't this make me happy anymore? So they chase the next upgrade, and the next, and the next. Not realizing they're running on a treadmill, moving constantly, arriving nowhere. Most people think status costs money. It does. But that's actually the smaller cost. The larger cost is time. Think about it. An expensive purchase isn't just dollars. It's hours of your life converted into a symbol. That luxury vehicle might represent years of work. That oversized mortgage could represent thousands of mornings waking up to an alarm clock you no longer enjoy. Status rarely asks for cash. It asks for life. Hours, energy, attention, freedom, and the truly dangerous part. The exchange happens gradually. Nobody wakes up one morning and decides to sacrifice their peace of mind. It happens one decision at a time, one upgrade at a time, one comparison at a time, until eventually they become trapped inside a lifestyle they built themselves. Not because it makes them happy, because it makes them look successful. Now here's the part most people get wrong. Status itself isn't bad. In fact, status built civilization. Scientists seek recognition. Artists seek appreciation. Athletes seek achievement. Builders seek legacy. Human beings naturally want respect. That's not the problem. The problem begins when status stops being earned and starts being performed. When appearances become more important than reality. When looking wealthy becomes more important than becoming wealthy. When looking successful becomes more important than feeling fulfilled. And perhaps most importantly, when your self-worth becomes dependent on other people's reactions. At that moment, something dangerous happens. Your happiness leaves your control. Because now your value depends on an audience that's impossible to satisfy. Imagine yourself 80 years old. The race is over. The notifications are gone. The trends have changed. The applause has faded. And you're looking back at your life. Not your bank account. Your life. What would matter then? Would it be the car, the watch, the brand name? Or would it be the people you loved, the experiences you lived, the freedom you built, the person you became? Because one day, every status symbol loses its power. Every trend becomes irrelevant. Every audience disappears. And when that happens, a question remains. A brutally simple question. How much of your life was genuinely yours, and how much was performed for approval? Because the greatest trick status ever pulled wasn't convincing people to spend money they didn't have. It was convincing them to spend years of their lives chasing applause they didn't even want. There is nothing wrong with ambition, nothing wrong with achievement, nothing wrong with wanting a better life. The danger begins when you confuse admiration with fulfillment, when you confuse appearance with value, when you confuse status with meaning. The wealthiest people aren't always the ones with the most expensive possessions. Sometimes they're the people who no longer feel the need to prove anything. The people who can walk away from the comparison game. The people who define success for themselves. So here's a question I'd like to leave you with, and I'd genuinely love to know your answer. What is one thing you've wanted for years that you would stop wanting tomorrow if nobody else could see it? Think carefully. Because hidden inside that answer may be the difference between a life spent building freedom and a life spent paying the ego tax. Every single day,